Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Anna Morphides with Mending Hearts Counseling, and today's video is going to continue on the topic of the anxious and the avoidant attachment style romantic partners that inevitably they will come together naturally because of their wounding that lives and is present from within them. Naturally, they're going to draw each other in. And the purpose of that is simply to just address what was meant to be healed in this particular lifetime, things that we experience as children that set the tone for our attachment style and our core beliefs. And yeah, when you think about it in that way, it actually is quite simple. It doesn't have to feel so tragic and so painful, or I heard the word toxic today, and I can't change anyone's experience of how they feel about things or relationships or connections, but what I can do is do the same thing that this beautiful human, Dr. Harville Hendricks, is trying to shed light onto the world, that connections are meant to feel challenging. We come together. He explains it so well in his book. Not everyone has so many wounds or traumas when they're growing up. There's a certain percentage of us that does. So that certain percentage of us, like this doctor beautifully describes, will come into contact with a future partner in their adulthood that will resemble their primary caregiver's actions that cause them to have the attachment style that they do in the first place. So he explains it so wonderfully that when we are children, we develop this this image, this perception of self that then later on will become the romantic partner that we bring in, that same image of self that we created as children. He calls it the imago, that is there to really protect us and make sense of what is happening in our childhood. That imago, that perception of self, that personality that is created will later on draw in a romantic partner that will simply reflect the I don't want to say negative traits of the imago, but it will highlight, the unhelpful ways that this persona has cultivated and developed to deal with their childhood unmet needs. So now they bring in this persona in order to show them that they still have power to heal those unmet needs. So the partner becomes a mirror of this unhelpful, I know in our counseling, in my counseling course, they called it, well, they were calling it the ego, and they were calling it a misguided ally. So we create this persona. So for me, as an anxious, well, I like to think of myself as securely attached, because I actually took the test the other day just out of curiosity. And I actually do tests now to be securely attached to my connections. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to have my wounds triggered, or I'm not going to feel challenged, or I'm not going to feel triggers. I do get still all those, but I think that I'm way more conscious of understanding what's happening for me. And the way that I want to deal with them is to communicate them. Like, I want to talk about them because I know that they exist. And for me, talking about them is what helps me process them. And then, I have to find the right person to do that with, because if naturally I would bring in an avoidant person, then the chances that that avoidant person would want to talk about thoughts and feelings are quite low, because this is how they operate. So then it would be up to me to find a counselor or a friend that is conscious, because sometimes it's challenging too. Like, I don't want to find a friend that I confide in and then they say things like, oh, he's such a jerk, or he's so this. No, that's not helpful, because no one essentially is a jerk or anything like that. This is where things go toxic. It's just, we all have our wounds, we all get triggered, and it's just how we deal with those triggers. Because like this person says, if we just understood that our partner's challenges become the blueprint to our healing, right? So for me, as an anxious attached person, it's natural to me that I would bring in someone who is more avoidant, because their challenging behavior of not wanting connection, withdrawing, not expressing emotion is a blueprint for my healing of my anxious attachment. And like he says, if we all understood that, then we would be not ending our connections in such tragic ways. They wouldn't feel so frustrating. They wouldn't feel, he never used the word toxic, actually, not even once. Because in my mind too, when I think of toxic connections, I think of like name calling, hitting, you know, like that sort of abuse. So, I mean, I would never encourage anyone to stay in any connection that there is physical abuse or name calling. That is definitely not okay. But if it's a connection where you feel challenged, like, you know that your childhood wounds are triggered when it feels, or for me at least, it's present in my tummy, specifically my second chakra, just right below my belly button. My sense of self. Yeah, that's where I feel my wounds, because it feels familiar and it feels sickening. It feels gross. It feels, ew, like, why are you here? But I know exactly why it's here. I know exactly why it's here. It's here because some part of me has not healed that part of itself. So it's experiencing it because it wants to be addressed. So like this wonderful doctor says, if we all understood that, then instead of projecting and, you know, calling people names, or even withdrawing, or even in my case, like super attaching, becoming too much in the sense of, yeah, like attaching, like wanting an outcome from that person in order to appease the way that I feel. That's the whole point of healing our wound, is dealing with those triggers in a way that is more conscious and aware. And that's why we are moving to a new earth. And that's why Eckhart Tolle wrote his book, A New Earth, because we all want to shift the consciousness towards that way, where people are more aware of what is taking place from within them. And then they can heal it. And then in turn, by healing our wounds, we can just spread that light and continue to help others heal. And imagine, like he says, how wonderful relationships would be then, not only the ones of romantic nature, but even the ones of platonic nature or family nature. If we all understood that the person that is challenging us is not there to hurt us, or they're not really doing it intentionally, we bring each other in for the sake of our healing, and then it's up to us to do the work. No one escapes the work. And Dr. Nicole LaPera talks about, you know, how we all acquire attachment style and core beliefs as well in our childhood. And then again, like in our adulthood, things and our situations are going to trigger those out of us. And then it's our job to take a look at them and heal them. Not our partners, really not anyone's other than ourselves. But then we also have to have the capacity and the awareness to do that. And like Deepak Chopra says, attention and intention. So if we pay attention to what is going on for us and have an intention to really understand and heal it, then things will feel a lot more in control, right? With within ourselves too. But the unfortunate thing in connections is everyone has free will. So not everyone will always choose to want to work with their partner to heal their wounds. And that's okay too. There's nothing that we can do about that either. All we can do is accept it, because then that's Eckhart Tolle's first book, The Power of Now, is accepting what is in your present moment right now. But that doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you. And then the point of that is for you not to internalize it and make it mean a story about yourself that will perpetuate that same cycle of why you brought in the partner in the first place. I hope I'm explaining that properly, because if I don't fully heal, so say I've done all the work to heal my anxious attachment style. So now I understand why I want to cling. I understand my need for the love language of words of affirmation. I understand why I need validation. I understand all these things. But if my romantic person is not able to understand that this is what's happening, I can only shed light to this concept, and then it's up to them. Yeah, it's up to them if they want to embark on this beautiful journey of healing with me or not. So everyone has free will. So then what do we do after that is, if I continue to think and feel that I am too much, or I am to this, or I am to that, then I'm going to bring in another person that's going to bring that stuff out of me again, and I'm going to have to relearn the lessons all over again. But if I stay sure within myself, and I know that I'm doing the work, and I know that I should be safe to express my feelings, I know it's okay to express what my love language is, and there be a compromise for that to be met. I know to be different, so then I don't have to experience the same lesson over and over again, because we are, or we date who we are. So if we are an anxious attachment style person, we're going to bring in people that will make us feel more of that anxiety. And same goes with an avoidant. If you are an avoidant type person, it makes sense that you're going to bring people in your life that will perpetuate your avoidance of connection, expression of feelings. So this is how it works. We date who we are, not what we want. So if we want peace, then we have to work in our inner peace, and that will be reflected back to us by our outside world. If we want, right? So the avoidance will they look for peace, they crave peace, because things feel quite chaotic in their mind. And then for an anxious attached person, things feel like what they crave is closeness and connection. So then it would be my job, and I've done that so much, like I had to create and cultivate connection within myself, like connect to myself, validate myself, like all the things that I was yearning and hoping for a partner to do is I do the majority of the work for myself. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we still cannot ask for space from our partner or ask for words of affirmation from our partner. It's just a different way of going about it. Like, you'll know energetically how you feel when you have this expression, right? Because I think old wounded Anna would have this sense of fear of someone leaving me, or fear of someone not giving me what it is that I felt my inner child was still yearning. I don't really have that fear anymore. No, it's not fear. I understand the concept of making room for something that is more serving for me to come in. So it's not fear, but sometimes it is maybe disappointment that yeah, disappointment that not everyone can view situations and or connections like I do, but I also understand that it took me a long time to get here too. I had to read many, many books. And of course, like I learned a lot through my counseling course as well. So no fault or blame to anyone, but just know that everything is always happening for a reason, and there's always going to be two sides to the truth, and then what is actually factually happening in a connection. So that's why they always say there's two sides to a story, because there'll be one person's perception depending on how you view the world. So if you're super positive, something's going to feel super positive, and then there can be the other side where they can have a complete different perception. And again, everyone has free will, so we can't really force anyone to do anything, but we can help spread light and shed light to the world. And yeah, hope and trust that we will have the experience that we truly and fully want at some point in our lives. If we haven't already, we know that, yeah, we deserve it. We are worthy of it, and do not veer from it. As always, thank you so much for watching my channel. I appreciate all your comments, your love, and your support. If you liked anything about this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love for you to do so. And any questions, comments, concerns, I'd love to hear from you, and I will see you next time.